is going on, everyone? It's your guy, Cole Jackson, back here on Road Graders, powered today by BetUS, and we are going to be getting you set up for this marquee matchup, battle for the AFC North, at least through 11 weeks. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers hosting your Baltimore Ravens. If you guys are looking forward to this game, if you're excited about the rivalry, feeling reignited, hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here. And we're redoing our challenge. No one won last week, so drop a comment down below with your score prediction. It has to be what team is scoring which point. So, if it's Ravens 42, Steelers 28, it has to be specifically that. If you win, you will win a free t-shirt courtesy of Breaking Tea that I will purchase for you. If there's multiple winners, I'll throw all the names in the hat to draw one. So drop that comment down below. Has to be in the YouTube comments. Thank you for participating. Now, we are going to be diving into this matchup, looking at what I think the three keys to victory are in this game. And before we get into that, lines for this weekend up, ready to go, courtesy of BetUS. They are sponsoring this video. The Ravens are 3-point favorites right now with the over-under set at 47.5. And I'm not going to lie, I'm going to smash that Ravens covering 3 and the over in this game. You guys can too. Go over to BetUS, use promo code YouTube150. You'll get 150% sign-up bonus and 125% on your next 2 deposits. Thank you to BetUS for sponsoring. So let's get right into it because we have a lot to cover. And I want to start with number one. Key number one, catch the dang ball. I know it seems simple, but when you go back to the film from last year, and this is one of those things where the narrative becomes Lamar Jackson can't beat the Steelers. The Steelers have, I do it too. I won't lie. I always say the Steelers have Lamar's number, and they have in the past, but they did not last year. One thing about Lamar Jackson versus Steelers that doesn't get discussed enough is he is in year 7, and yet he's missed so many games specifically against the Steelers, whether it's due to COVID-19 in 2020, whether it's due to week 18, week 17, where they're not playing 2 of those games because the Ravens had already clinched their playoff seed, whether it's injury. I think he's only 1-5 against them where he's actually started, which is insane. But when you go back to last year's game and you really dive into it, it gets pretty absurd pretty quick because of the dropsies. The Ravens there's 8 in this video. The last one there's 9 in this video. 2 of them didn't get targeted as drops. Let's take a look at them here. So you're going to see early in this game on 3rd down, just Zay over the middle, and you can't see the full route, but he breaks open, middle of the field, off the play action. Lamar sets up, nice pocket, good pass protection. You can see Zay opening right there. Lamar throws it a little bit behind where Zay has to go to his back shoulder, but right in the hands and a drop. Just an absolute killer. We get another one here from Mark Andrews, a little low here. Not Lamar's best throw, but still hitting him in the hands, another drop. That looks like it's gaining probably about 10 yards, so probably a first down right there. Keep rolling along, and this is where rewatching this brings back the daggers and the memories. So this is going to be back-to-back plays. First, this is on 2nd down. So 2nd down, see right there, Lamar, perfect pass right through Mark Andrews' hands. And I say perfect pass because you can't quite see it that well. But as Lamar is throwing here, you can see the linebacker right there has inside leverage over the hash from Mark Andrews. So Lamar throws his outside shoulder right there. And see Andrews comes back right in between his hands. And then this one, Rashad Bateman's to the right, to Lamar's left, the stage right, I guess. And he's going to absolutely cook the corner on a route and get wide open. And it's almost like he got too wide open because you can see here, he goes up for it and somehow manages to drop this. I remember when I watched this one live, and let's watch it again here. I remember thinking it was a bullet pass and that's why he dropped it. But you can see here, the delivery, look how soft that is. It's like Rashad was so shocked that he was that open. Because this is not a hard thrown ball. And it's literally, I guess he had to jump for it, but I mean, it hits him right in the hands. It's in his hands right now. He's just got to squeeze the damn thing. So those were back-to-back plays. That is an absolute killer. This game sat at 10-3 for most of the game. And right there, that was a backbreaker for the Steelers. The offense couldn't get anything going early in this game, and the Ravens just couldn't execute to pull away. And a lot of people point to Lamar Jackson, and I just think it's hogwash baloney not based in the film. If you watch the film, Lamar, like these throws from Lamar are great passes. Get another one here. Just another drop by Zay. Just tough ones on easy routes where he's got separation too. Mark Andrews on a crossing route. That was in there. That would have set up field goal range. Just some really tough ones. Then you get 2 deep balls here. And this is what I mean. Like, look how well placed this ball is. Again, through Rashad's hands. I don't think this one got charted as a drop. And, I guess it's like kind of outside of his hands. Whether you want to call it a drop, call it a missed opportunity, a number one receiver should be making this play. Simple as that, with where that ball was placed. So I just, Lamar getting let down here. This is a beauty too. Right to the right, Nelly. Oh, how do you drop that? Like, that is just, and this was, again, 10-3, third quarter. 17-3 is such a different game optically with how Lamar was playing in this one. And that's a backbreaker right there. And then this is the last one. This was on the last offensive play. So this was 3rd and 7 with 26 seconds left. So I don't think this would have counted as a drop. So like that Rashad Bateman one, we'll call it a missed opportunity, whatever. You're going to see Devin Duvernay break open in the middle of the field and get up for that and just not be able to bring it in. And like, again, talking about the quality of pass, you've got the triangle right there, 3 zone defenders, and Lamar put it directly in the middle, just needed a receiver to get up and get it. So, I mean, that's one of those situations. Looking at that last one, if you don't want to call it a drop, if you think that's, too tight of a window, whatever, it's sake of argument, missed opportunities. But as you can see quite clearly, 9 of Lamar's incompletions, very, very nice throws, multiple going for touchdowns. Nelly's maybe doesn't go for a touchdown, but gets them inside the 10-yard line. So just backbreakers. So key one, catch the damn ball if it hits you in the hand. Simple as that. We get into number 2 here, and this is a big one. Take away the boundary receivers. And there's a lot of advanced stats here, and a couple, like if you guys watch my past defense video, you'll have seen me throw this up. And so this is a big one because the Ravens have been terrible in zone, great in man. And so I've talked a lot about that, about, how it went against Joe Burrow. But when you take a look at Russ, and this is where I'm really interested in some of your thoughts. So Russell Wilson against man absolutely cooks. Russell Wilson against zone hasn't been very good in his 3 starts. And that is, like Spencer notes at the bottom here, small sample size, but that is the story of Russ's career. He is a boundary thrower. If you go back through all those great highlights with, DK, Tyler Lockett, you go all the way back to Doug Baldwin. Yeah, Doug Baldwin. Cooked on the sidelines. It wasn't so much beating guys over the middle. And now let's take a look at the pass charts through his 3 starts. Look at where the touchdowns are being thrown. Not a lot in the middle of the field, definitely a little bit, but mostly deep throws to the boundary. This is George Pickens territory. You can see right here against the Giants, a little bit more spread, but still a lot of throws and that deep touchdown going down the left side. And then when we look against the Jets in his first start, both touchdowns, thrown to the boundary and almost nothing in the middle of the field. So that brings up essentially what I think the key is, and that's going to be taking away George Pickens specifically, because when you look at the way, and George Pickens has been on fire since Russ took over, and when you take a look at the way he's scoring, it's kind of those man situations that I've been talking about that I want the Ravens to be able to set up. So get into man coverage, take away the zone responsibility because your defense is really struggling. But then when you watch these, it's kind of like going fire against fire, because the Steelers under Russell Wilson are operating very good against the system I want the Ravens to run. So this is where I'm always curious. Do you play the system that you think you can execute the best, or do you play the system that goes against your opponent's weakness? That's the best way to say it. So essentially, Russell Wilson struggles against zone. So do we play zone even though we can't execute it well, or do we play man because we execute it better and we're going to force them to beat us? I'm really curious to see how this one goes. I'd personally opt for playing man coverage, and you'll kind of see why with these George Pickens highlights, but you'll see the way he sets these up. So you can see right there, they're just going to run a fade out of the slot. So George Pickens is going to be in the stack here at the bottom of your screen, and he's just going to run a slot fade. And there he is. and just a ridiculous catch, like absolutely absurd. And he's just going to haul that in. And this is George Pickens' game, right? 50-50 balls, tight windows. And this is where it gets scary because guys like Brandon Stephens, guys like Nate Wiggins, not necessarily getting cooked, giving up a ton of separation, but struggling to find the ball in the air, especially Brandon Stephens, where he doesn't get his head back around, even though he's in tight. And that's territory for George Pickens to do what he does so well. So really interested to see how they're going to cover that. You can see him at the bottom of your screen here. Just again, running that little in-breaking route against man coverage. So you got your man coverage there in the slot and then man coverage up top. They're just going to run cover one man against this in-breaking route, easy pitch and catch. That's something that, Russell Wilson will throw over the middle in those man situations. He won't do it in zone. George Pickens at the bottom of your screen again. And here we go. George Pickens. And like this, to me, I can picture Brandon Stephens playing this exact coverage. Look how tight the coverage is throughout. Corner and trail technique too. Again, in cover one, you can see the safety coming over top. Really tight window, but George Pickens, good body control, the way he's able to find that ball, maintain his feet in bounds, make the catch, survive the ground, all that good stuff. That's what he does so well. That's what's making him such a good player. Bottom of your screen against the Giants. Again, we have man coverage. And again, sideline throw. How many times do we have to look at that? Sideline throw, one-on-one, man coverage. Corner not able to catch it. He almost houses that if he can just stay in bounds. So this is really what I can see the Ravens struggling with. But again, they're playing that better than when they play zone. So it's really going to be interesting how they cover that. Bottom of your screen again. Once again, deep ball, boundary, just ridiculous 50-50 ball skills. That ball's up and he's going to put his body in a position. The corner doesn't have his head back around. Classic story. Just reminds you of the Baltimore Ravens. Top of your screen here, another fade. Again, going up and getting that ball. So, this is where it's going to be tough. I think I'm still opting, again, here we go. Man, somehow catches that. Ridiculous catches, insane stuff. So that's what George Pickens can do to you. That's what I'm really interested to see how they're going to match up with that. Like I said, personally, I'm taking my risks on the 50-50 balls, and I'm still playing man because it's the best I've been able to play. And so I think if they can do that, mix in some 5-6 man pressures, try and get after Russell Wilson, get that ball out, not let those deep balls set up. I'm going to look to guys like Brandon Stephens, Nate Wiggins, and just hope they can hold on and make plays on the ball, get their heads around. But I think that puts them in the best position to succeed. I'd also like to see them find ways to get Marlon Humphrey matched up on George Pickens because that type of physicality is what George Pickens is so good at. And Marlon Humphrey is one of the more physical corners in the league. And I think he could really match up well. But it's all about creating those matchups, right? And matching up what they do. So it's going to be interesting to see how they combat that. If you guys watched my video last week going into the Bengals game, I talked about playing cover two high safeties against Jamar Chase, and he went for 240 yards, so nobody listened to me. I wanted them to play some of that, the two high zones, either in cover 6, cover 4, cover 2, and, let them take the middle of the field. But the problem was just nobody was executing their zones. Jamar Chase, 70-yard touchdown, literally is caught because Marcus Williams just didn't drop into his zone. So that's one of the things with zone coverage. It can be the right call. It can be the right matchup. But if guys don't execute, it doesn't really matter. And I think they can really simplify things, especially for the safeties. Have man coverage. They're just providing the help off of the man coverage in front of them. They're not, communicating zones. They're not passing off zones, that sort of stuff. So that's really what I think one of the matchups could be. And then the last one, and this doesn't mean injury. It reads a little ominous. I mean, take TJ Watt out of the game with double teams. This is a guy, Ravens fans hate him. I hate him in the sense that he kills my team. And you'll see here, he has 6 sacks in the last 4 matchups against the Ravens. Some of these coming in those late matchups against backups. You're going to see a sack in here from Daniel Falele. But there he is, beating Morgan Moses inside, sack Tyler Huntley. He gets 2 sacks in this game last year with Tyler Huntley starting. There's his go-to move. This is something he does. Well, hold on, let me pause it. This is something that as we get into what he's been doing this year, he just does so well. So you're going to see him beat outside and then use that rip. See that right inside arm is going to just rip up Morgan Moses, take away all the leverage, and he's going to turn the corner. That ability to work upfield and cut inside with that right hand right here. See it right there again. Just the way he's able to explode upfield and bend that edge That's what, and there's Falele at offensive tackle. Still can't believe we did that experiment. Here he is against Anthony Brown, so you can really see how different some of these looks have been. But, that's really, he's been a Raven killer over the last 2 years. That's 6 sacks in 4 games. So a guy that's just, he's had their number, just like the Steelers have had our number in terms of winning the game, and they need to find a way. But let's take a look at what he's been up to this year, because there's a lot of stuff out there about his efficiency. It's not necessarily his production, because he's still getting sacks, he's still getting pressures, all that good stuff. And I would say he's still productive, but less so. He's getting up there in age. He's 32. But, that's going from being an all-pro to maybe a Pro Bowler. So still a very good player that can be a game breaker. But really what he's going to do, and the matchup with Roger Rosengarten, because as you'll see in this clip, he only lines up against the right tackle. So I'm not going to be pointing to anything here. You guys are looking at the matchup against the right tackle on every snap. That's just how he's played his whole career. He's always matching up against the right tackle. So it's going to be TJ Watt against Roger Rosengarten. And here you're going to see some of the pressures against these right tackles that he's been playing. And again, his go-to move, explode upfield. It's kind of like a 3-step process. Explode upfield, dip your inside shoulder, and then use your inside arm to rip under. So as he dips, rip under with that inside arm. Boom. And then that that doesn't create, it takes away all the leverage from an offensive tackle as he's going to bend that edge and then get around. There he is getting that. He hits that arm, gets that ball knocked out. Here he is against the Giants. Again, right there. Get around, dip that shoulder, rip. Dip and rip. That's his go-to. That's what he's done his whole career. Explode, dip, rip. Explode, dip, rip. Same thing. Get that ball out. There's that strip sack against Daniel Jones. Explode upfield, dip, rip against Morgan Moses. QB hit. So it's the same pass rush move over and over again. Here he is against the Cowboys. Doesn't do it here, but still bends that edge with the long arm. So that's what he's so good at, attacking that edge right there. Dip, rip. Over and over and over again. I can only imagine Roger Rosengarten watching these. So, and as you'll see, all these pressures, no help on the right side, right? And they've had a difficult time, offense have had a difficult time doing that against the Steelers because Alex Highsmith has been healthy. Alex Highsmith goes against the left tackle on all these snaps, and he's been really good. And then early in the year, they had Nick Herbig rotating in, and those two rotating in against your left tackle, that's a long day. Alex Highsmith goes down with an injury, but Nick Herbig is back this week, so they are still going to have a solid rusher. There it is, dip and rip. It's kind of crazy how he wins so often with the same move, but that's because there's really no technique against it. It's about matching athleticism, and then the second you start oversetting on him, TJ Watt's so good that the second you take that extra kick step to the outside, he's going to attack you inside, branch those counter moves. So where teams have had success, because there are a few teams that have really limited his pressures. The Raiders, I think he had 0 pressures in that game. Might have been 1. I'd have to, we'll see as we get into them. But it's the multitude of double teams have been setting him. And that's really what I'm expecting from the Ravens. Again, Alex Highsmith isn't playing in this game. I'm personally going to ask Ronnie Stanley. You're going on one-on-one with Nick Herbig all day. We're going to give help on the right side. We're going to help Roger Rosengarten out, just like they did, in a few earlier matchups. Funny enough, they didn't against Max Crosby when he did play those snaps, and Roger Rosengarten held his own, but he's going to need help against TJ Watt. And you're going to see here the Raiders gave a number of different looks. So there you got a tight end on that side. You'll notice too, he always lines up outside the tight end. So we have a tight end in a 3-point stance here, right off of the offensive tackle. But if we split out a tight end, which the Ravens do with Isaiah Likely a lot, that will split TJ Watt out a little bit wider. Would love to see those. So it's not just, I forget the alignment name. It's not just right off the tackle. It's like one extra gap over. So where TJ's lined up right now, it'd kind of be like up in a 2-point stance lined up out there. And what that'll do is just move TJ Watt away from, further away from the right tackle, give that help, and then give Roger Rosengarten more path to be able to get out into his pass set. And so here we're just going to see a simple, I was going to say a simple chip, but they actually slide their line left in play action, and then they ask their tight end and their fullback to go out and attack TJ Watt. And that's just one of those things where you're going to have to give different looks. So here's the alignment I'm talking about. So 84, the tight end for the Raiders here, is lined up, not just right beside the offensive tackle, but an extra gap over, and you can see where TJ Watt's lined up. So that's just splitting him out wide, because you can do this. As soon as the snap goes, you can chip them there, give a little bit more room, and then get your offensive tackle. So it just creates more space for your tackle to get out. Here we're going to motion across. Then we're going to ask our running back to come in and give him a pop. Madison kind of misses there. Again, we're splitting our tight end out a little bit wider, which splits Watt out a little bit wider. There's that right there. I want to see that all day. Just Isaiah Likely, chip, and then going out as the check down guy. Get Justice Hill out there in some obvious passing downs, running routes deeper down the field, and ask Isaiah Likely or Mark Andrews to chip and then be the check down guy rather than the running back being the check down guy. Those are the types of adjustments they need to make. 89 is going to motion across here. I think that's Brock Bowers. And then once again, as that snap comes, give him a little pop. And that just gives you just enough to help give that, different look. Jets did the same thing. You're just going to ask Tyler Conklin to stay in there and pass pro. And you'll notice on a lot of these other quarterbacks, low TTT. So getting that ball out on time to throw was low because they don't want to let that pass rush come after you. And that's something that the Ravens can only do so much about schematically. They have to call plays, use screens, short passes, slants, all that good stuff. But the Ravens offense needs to be comfortable taking that and, being okay on 1st and 10 to pick up a 4-yard slant. And that's something that they just need to get better at doing in a lot of those scenarios. But it's going to help out your pass protection. Here, they're going to use Breece Hall. Breece Hall absolutely pops him, gets out there and catches that. Give Derrick Henry some of those snaps. Give Derrick Henry chips on out of shotgun, out of a split out shotgun. Have him come downhill and smack TJ Watt and then get out for a little check down. Why not? Throw the kitchen sink at him. There's tight end staying in. Morgan Moses. So this is a good example of what I mean. So watch Morgan Moses come out of his stance on this next play. That's the Breece Hall play. So the tight end's going to chip on TJ Watt, and then Morgan Moses, able to give a little inside look help there at Patrick Queen and still able to be in his pass set. And look how much better he squares him up. So that's the type of stuff where it can help out your right tackle. Here, we're going to give that little help out there from the tight end. And again, let Morgan Moses pick him up while sliding the right guard over there. These types of looks are what you have to do. You see, they're going to motion in the receiver here. They got 2 in tight. There's that little chip, just enough, just to disrupt, kick him inside, help your right tackle right there again, popping him inside. I want to see that all day. Give a bunch of different looks, receivers, tight ends, Patrick Ricard, all these different types of looks. Use running back, use Derrick Henry, just to give those different looks. See, it is again right there. Here's Austin Eckler, going to pop him and then get out there. See, and I like that little mesh action there from the tight end and the running back. So I think there's a lot of options here schematically that the Ravens can use to limit TJ Watt. He's going to be that type of guy that can be a game breaker. He can ruin your game, but plenty of opportunities here for the Ravens to counter that. So that's what I have as the 3 keys to winning. Again, drop a comment down below with your score prediction to enter the competition. Once again, it'll be a free t-shirt from our friends at Breaking Tea that I will purchase for you. Well, if there's multiple winners, I will draw a name. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown. Hit subscribe if you're new here. And as always, thank you to BetUS for powering this